Are we going to talk about this Don Lemon thing?
Them coming after journalists, particularly black journalists now.
Don Lemon was arrested on federal civil rights charges tied to anti-ICE protests that disrupted a church service. On January 18th, Lemon live streamed from St. Paul City's church where anti-immigration enforcement protesters interrupted a service led by a pastor who is also an ICE official.
Yeah, this is it, guys. We're officially in it. This is a fascist country.
No, we're not.
This is an Unsolicited Perspectives podcast, After Hours Uncensored sneak peek.
Are we going to talk about this Don Lemon thing?
Oh, man, them coming after journalists, particularly black journalists now.
Yeah, I decided to make a few notes. I was like, let's talk about this on After Hours, because you can say whatever the fuck you want to say.
Mm-hmm.
So for those people that are watching After Hours, and I might even clip this to do an After Hours sneak peek, Don Lemon was arrested on federal civil rights charges tied to anti-ICE protests that disrupted a church service. On January 18th, Lemon live streamed from St. Paul City's church where anti-immigration enforcement protesters interrupted a service led by a pastor who is also an ICE official. He teased it as a secret operation and filmed from the parking lot into the disruption inside. A federal grand jury later indicted him and others for conspiracy to deprive people of their civil rights to freely participate in religion, alleging they plan to disrupt operations and physically intimidate worshipers and the pastors during the protests. Federal agents arrested Lemon in Los Angeles. While he was covering the Grammys festivities, he appeared in court, was released, and expected to plead not guilty while restrictions were placed on contact with co-defendants and witnesses. Who were they protesting? They were protesting the city's church. Was the coordinated action. Hold on. I lost my train of thought. City's church in St. Paul is a conservative evangelical church where one pastor, David Eastwood, I've never known somebody named with the last name Eastwood that wasn't racist except for Scott Eastwood. Also runs a local ICE field office that has overseen aggressive immigration sweeps like Operation Metro Surge, which that sounds like a Trump. That sounds like Trump labeled that himself.
Yeah.
With more than 2,000 arrests in the Twin Cities. So, yeah, Don Lemon was arrested, and they attacking him. And what do you think about all this?
I mean, isn't that straight out the Gestapo playbook?
It's something similar to this. Marjorie Taylor Greene was on Bill Maher's show and said,
"Oh, yeah, two people I just adore."
Right, but she's trying to do this rehabilitation tour.
So she chose Bill Maher. Okay.
Yeah, because she's rehabilitating herself so that she's more appealing to a mass group, which means you have to tone down some of the rhetoric, but you got to maintain some of that rhetoric because people want to hear it. They just don't want to hear it so explicitly.
Right.
So
they want to be quiet racist.
Yeah, quiet racist.
Yeah.
That's what she's appealing to now.
Mm-hmm.
So she was on Bill Maher. She's like, oh, yeah, he definitely violated because he interrupted church services. And I was like, he didn't interrupt church services. The protesters definitely did.
Yeah.
Now, they may have some legal action coming their way because you can't disrupt church services. And even if that church is harboring racists, that's a slippery slope if you allow people to go in and start disrupting church services. We are in Black History Month right now. Martin Luther King used to have church services. Can you imagine if them anti-segregationists or them segregationists were in that church raiding it and they weren't getting prosecuted, which was what
yes,
they were doing.
I can't imagine that.
but they were supposed to. Now imagine that today. So I get that argument.
Yes, I can.
Yes, I get the argument, but you can't be going look, wait outside, protest all you want outside, and then they went inside. No, I'm not talking about
Lemon.
I'm not talking about Don Lemon. I'm talking about the protesters right now.
Yeah.
I'm talking about how the protesters were wrong. Protest outside. Church services come out. Protest. Don't go in the church. But Don Lemon is not a protester. He's a journalist. He's following where the protesters are going. He's not
Yeah.
participating with the protesters.
Right.
He's just, but this is the administration having
Mhm.
all the smoke
Yeah.
for
For
anybody black.
everybody. Yeah. For everybody.
Roscoe, what's going on,
anybody.
buddy?
That's not Roscoe.
That's Ronnie. Ronnie, old
Mhm.
barking ass. But so I know you had some thoughts, so I'll let you go because you sent me something. You was like, "Did you
That
see
was
this?" I was
it.
like, "That was." That's all
This
you had to
is
say.
it. Yeah, this is it, guys. We're officially in it. This is a fascist country.
No,
This-
we're not.
We
We're
in
not.
it.
No,
This is
we're
This is step 7 of 12.
not. It's not even step 7 or 12. We're heading towards that way, but
No, this is step 7 of 12.
it's not step 7 to 12. It's step 7 of 100. Okay, we are still look. Let me tell you something. As somebody who knows history and knows fascist countries, who just interviewed somebody and if y'all are watching this on Monday, you'll see the interview tomorrow. Interview somebody who grew up in Iran. We ain't there yet. We are nowhere close to be there yet.
I'm not saying it can't get worse.
Okay.
I said this is step 7 of 12.
But I'm saying it's not even step 7 to 12. It's like step 7 of 100. We are far away from it.
No, we're not that far. I just don't want the comparison to like worse regimes to desensitize you to where we are currently.
Okay,
Like,
I dig that.
Yeah, so just because it can get worse, yes, it can get worse. We know that just within our own country, that it can get much worse. Jim Crow ain't here yet. That was pretty bad.
Jim Crow ain't coming back. The motherfucker, no. Like,
Okay.
I would lead the revolt and revolution myself.
In
the
what way?
physical,
Because
violent revolt myself.
Because the water fountains ain't labeled? Where you see a water fountain recently except Planet Fitness?
and if they get labeled at Planet Fitness, we got a problem.
All right, well, I'm just saying.
All right,
You know,
well,
the new
this is the same
playbook
person
is for
who was
things to not be as overt. Right? You can't call it slavery, but if you're going to write something into our laws, the 13th Amendment, we can kind of have slavery.
Yes, the prison system is a kind of slavery, but I'm also talking to the person, ladies and gentlemen, who thought the Black Panther Party was back and found out and got their heart broken.
My heart. Broke my heart.
Because this dude looks like this dude that said
he's been all over social media. I was like, damn. Here's the thing about capping. Let it be some innocent. Don't cap with hope. You know what I'm saying? Don't lie to us about something that will give us hope. Like, don't do that. That's the worst. I thought Black Panther Party, now they disbanded in the 80s, but they are back and they out here for self-defense. This man done put on every black costume that there was. And this is just the latest. And the person in that video was correct. The Black Panther Party wasn't just the assault rifles. What they were a concentrated community organization. So where are the programs? Where are the after-school programs? Where are the free breakfast programs? Where are the programs? There are none because y'all are capping. But don't cap, don't do it with hope. Like, that's, I was really thinking they were all gonna be back.
Thank you for watching this After Hours Uncensored sneak peek. Check out more shows on our Patreon page and YouTube membership.